Hello, hello. It's a Monday night. What's up? How's everyone doing? Welcome in those who are here early. Happy hippie kids. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you before, X Fraza. Piggy Potato, what is up? Leah Lowe, you're drawing furries as humans. Okay. Welcome to the stream. Shout out to those of you who are here early. Hello, Henry, a lovely mod, Kevin. Welcome in. Hello, Broken Wing Zeal. A couple of our students in the chat and members. Hello, Quinn. Welcome in, guys. I'm good. I'm good, actually. You know what? Monday nights is usually like my night where I don't plan anything, but today I thought it would be great for us to actually stream and make up for Saturday's stream. So yeah, and we have a giveaway, guys. If you didn't know, our mission at Wing Canvas is to make art education easily accessible to everyone. And so we usually stream Saturday and Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you didn't know, our growing community of art nerds, we've been actually growing a lot on not just YouTube, but on Discord. So really, really thankful for all of our subscribers and our lovely community. So yeah, we're an online school of illustration. There's actually 5 instructors at Wing Canvas. So my name is Faye. If we haven't met before, I usually stream on Saturdays. And from the left to the right is Iggy, Faye, Arunya, Josh, and Jesse in the middle there. Jesse the gremlin. That's Gremlin Jessie. She actually is known for her her little gremlin character. So yeah, if you are here for the giveaway, let's talk about the giveaway first. So all you need to do, guys, is technically just show up and type art nerd in the live chat. So thanks for tuning in today. We've got something extra special for you. And if you stick around, we will be giving away a free class pass valued at $100 to one lucky winner. So trust me, you don't want to win this. You don't want to miss this. If you've never taken a class at Wing Canvas before, it's game changing. Because not only do you get custom feedback, which is so valuable for creative growth, we have opened up recorded learning classes as well as intensive hybrids, which means you can learn on your own time, but also get live critique. So for those of you, learning is totally changing now, right? Online learning has been evolving. We have been evolving with it. So thank you so much to our amazing students and patrons who have supported us and, given us really, really good feedback. So if you do take classes, the difference between our classes and our streams, though, is that our classes, you get custom feedback. So you get drawovers, you get to chat and pick your instructor's brain, like me. And even if you don't win, there's a surprise for everyone at the end of the stream, okay? So make sure to stick around for that. All right. So I actually teach drawing foundations, and I'm going back to foundations these days. It's always good to kind of go back and practice your drawing skills and your painting skills. So today's stream is how to draw anything. We've gotten some feedback on the channel on, those of you who are beginners. If you are a beginner, let me know in the chat. Just type beginner in the chat. Just let me know. This is, if you're not a beginner, that's okay. We can always review the basics. There might be something in there that you don't actually know yet. So we're going to learn how to draw anything. And our focus today is how to draw things in 3D. Okay. So if you haven't been to one of our streams before, usually what we do is we feature some of our lovely Discord members. It's free to join the Discord, and it's a great community, and we have a challenge every month. So this month's challenge is fantasy creatures, one of our most sought after, one of the most popular topics. And so this is our first submission by user Midori Ukami, who drew a centaur. And horses are so hard to draw, guys. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard. So whenever I see somebody attempt it, kudos to you. I think this is a lovely character with all the detail. And unfortunately, I can't zoom in on the face, but the face is beautifully done as well. So really, really lovely work, Midori. Thank you for submitting. You can submit your artwork to the monthly challenge on the Discord for a chance to be featured on stream. So I really love the just like the tones on this, the natural looking like greens and browns. It's very naturey, very sort of understated, not super high contrast, and just overall a nice design. So nice work, Midori Ukami. And let's see, our second submission. Second submission is Bread Panda. I love seeing a mix of like cute and creepy. I just think it's the perfect combination. And because, tomorrow's October and Halloween's coming up, our favorite season, I thought I couldn't resist. I was like, this, and you know what? This piece was called Teddy Bear. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so punny. I love it. And I like seeing it in its closed state and its open state. So I just think it's really, really funny. A great sense of humor, and love the creepy factor. So good. Nicely done, Bread Panda. All right. So you know what? This reminds me of an art piece that I did of a bear. I actually sewed a bear, a teddy bear, and I cut it in half and I sculpted a piece of meat. So it was basically half a bear. So yeah, this reminds me of that. I also have that sort of cute plus morbid weird side of me. So yeah, we found each other, Bread Panda. Love this piece. All right. And third one is by Cheesebag. So this is a half orc character. And I just really like the character design. I like the fluff around the boots. I think you did a really nice job with the textures. And I like the perspective too. You're kind of, looking up at her. And even though she's, she seems like her proportions wise, she seems not super tall, but you're sort of looking up at her and giving her this heroic look. And I think it's just awesome. Really nice character design. And I think I've featured you twice, Cheesebag. So yeah, nice job. All right. So definitely join the Discord, guys, because October's coming and you will get a really epic challenge this month. No spoilers, but hop onto the Discord and we've got a great challenge for you waiting there. All right. Let's do some drawing, guys. Let's do some drawing. Okay, so a lot of people have asked me for pretty specific things. A lot of people said fur. A lot of people said feathers. Lots of people said trees as well, but we have a tree video coming up, and I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but we have a tree tutorial that's in the works. It's almost done. So you'll get a whole tutorial on that. So today I thought we would start with just really, really basic forms first. So in the beginning, if you are a beginner, just kind of finding your way and not quite sure, you know, what to draw or even where to start, the best place to start is by drawing forms. Okay, I know it sounds really boring. It's like if you play piano and your piano teacher tells you to practice your scales. You know, you roll your eyes and you're like, oh, that's not fun, right? Who here plays piano? Who here has played scales before? I played piano up until grade 8, and I did my exams and everything, and I remember having to practice my scales, and I just hated it, right? It was so boring. I just wanted to play popular music. But even before forms, you have your shapes, okay? So shapes are obviously 2D, your forms are 3D. So we are going to attempt to draw really good forms today. And just bear with me if you are more advanced, okay? You used to play piano as your first instrument. Yeah, I loved piano, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because I had I think my piano experience was a little bit too academic. I like to balance the academic with the fun, like you gotta learn your scales, just like you have to learn your forms and your shapes, right? But then it's like, what can you do with them? How can you create to make it your own and to make it more fun? So I'm gonna just start with like your 3 basic shapes, okay? We learned these in like preschool, right? Your circle, triangle, and your square. And everything that you draw can be made up of these very simple shapes. Now, obviously, there's ovals as well. There's cones. So a cone starts to be more 3D, but in a 2D sense, it's kind of like this, right? And then obviously there's rectangles. You get the idea. There are modifications of these shapes, right? But basically everything is a combination of this. If you can, if you can draw shapes, you can draw anything, basically. So we are going to learn how to construct things. So these are kind of your building blocks, right? So to speak. These are your building blocks. So if you've ever watched any one of my videos, I talk about the GSL method. And the GSL method is basically reminds you not to forget about your shapes. The shapes, the S stands for shapes, the G stands for gesture, and the L stands for line. So everybody that I know who is a beginner will start with their line. So most people will draw their line first, and then they'll be like, something doesn't look right. And then they erase. And then they draw their line again, and then they're like, that doesn't look right. Then they'll erase, and then they'll draw their line again. Okay, so you notice this kind of like never-ending pattern until you get it right. So this kind of continues. But if you are if you want to get really quick and efficient, okay, if you want to be very efficient about drawing, then you sort of want to draw from the inside out. Okay, so the GSL method helps you draw from the inside out. It applies to most things, like basically anything that can move a little bit. So like trees will have a gesture. Maybe a water bottle doesn't have a gesture, right? A water bottle is just pure form. But the G is like if you're drawing anything with movement, and anything with movement will have a gesture. So, like this. Otherwise, like let's say I am drawing a water bottle, right? So if I'm drawing a water bottle, I would start off with my cylinder. So this could be a pop can. Let's say it's a skinny pop can, you know, one of those fancy ones, right? So the one thing that I see a lot of people get wrong when they're drawing cylinders are probably one of the most difficult things to draw. You might be like, why? It's just a tube, Faye. It's easy. But I can't tell you how many times I see people mess up cylinders, okay? They either don't draw the top or the bottom, or they draw the curves to they don't draw enough of the ellipsis. So let me explain for a second here. So those of you who have been in my class, you've probably heard this a million times. But anyway, we'll go over it again since we're going back to basics. This is your line of vision. Okay, so this is kind of like your horizon line. So your eye is aligned with this line here. Okay, and anything that's on this line, like for example, okay, if you look at this eraser, right now it's right on the line. Okay, so you don't see any of the sides, you only see this part. Okay, you only see the bottom. But as I move above the horizon, right, you can start to see the top of the eraser. Okay, so imagine instead of an eraser, this is like a coin. Okay, you can start to see a little bit of the bottom as you move up, and as you move down, you can see a little bit of the top. Now, this might be very obvious, but this means that if you have a cylinder that's on your horizon line, right, that means that you don't see any of the top or the bottom of the cylinder, right? It's kind of distorted, right? Now, if you are looking at the cylinder and it's below the cylinder, the cylinder is below your line of vision, right? Then you're going to see a little bit of the top. But you notice that I drew this one. Okay, sorry, it's going to be a little bit longer. I want to keep my cylinder consistent. Okay, so you'll notice that this cylinder is wider than this cylinder. Sorry, not wider, taller than the cylinder. Okay, so you can see more of the oval. So as things start to go below your horizon line, this circle, this ellipsis, gets bigger and bigger, right? So same thing here, gets bigger and bigger. Okay, so the most common mistake I see people make when they draw cylinders is they're like, okay, I'm gonna draw a cylinder, and they draw like a flat line, and I'm like, no, no. So yeah, this is kind of the one thing, if you can remember this, it will really help you with your perspective. And this is not, there's no like vanishing points. There's not a lot of math or guidelines or, any of that stuff. It's just a simple, is it above your line of vision or below your line of vision, right? Okay. So I see some people say I seem to use the LE method a lot. I'm just going to catch up with the chat for a little bit. But yeah, I'll give you some time to kind of sketch out this for yourself. So this works with anything. It works with, I like to use a coin or like, a jar of peanut butter as an example, but it works with any shape, basically. So Lumi says, holy cow, I actually made it to a stream. Oh, I'm so glad. Let us know if like Monday nights are good for you guys. Because we normally stream on weekends. And Quinn has a question. Common beginner advice is to break down things into simple forms, but when you're more advanced and need to draw more complex forms or anatomy, you know what? I'll go over complex forms because right now these are very simple forms. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna shade them, and then we're gonna talk about complex forms. One of my favorite ways to practice 3D shapes is drawing my D&D dice. Oh yeah, Geocat, the 20, the 20 dice. Yeah, I actually haven't drawn one of those, but that would be fun. It would be really good practice. You know what I like drawing is Tetris pieces in 3D. Okay, let's see. It's Tuesday night, 4 a.m. Oh, wow. Well, glad you are here. 4 a.m. I am usually in dreamland. All right. Oh, and Evie's here. Hello. Welcome in. Okay. So now that you guys all understand this kind of concept, right? Let's try to apply it whenever you are drawing a person, right? Normally when we look at a person, right? It depends on how tall you are. So I'm about 5'6", okay? So if I'm 5'6", that's like 168 centimeters. I would probably be looking up at somebody. My eye level would align with somebody else who's 5'6", right? So I would probably be here. So let's say this is me, right? Let's say I'm here, and just to kind of sketch out a simple body. Guys know I'm gonna probably run out of space here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is me. So if I had to draw a quick body, I would usually just kind of put in like the head, the rib cage, the pelvis. If you're drawing a female body, you probably want the pelvis to be a little bit bigger. So let's say this is me. Okay. So you notice that I'm drawing like a little armature. I always try to draw from the inside out, right? So when you draw an armature like this, what happens is you can easily measure, okay, are your knees aligned? Are your feet aligned? Are your elbows aligned? Are your arms the same length? Right? Are your arms the same length? This is so easy to figure out, right? I can literally like draw a curve across and figure that out. If I, started drawing a person, where am I going to draw this person? So let's say, I draw the person here, and then I start with the neck and then the shoulders, right? And then I try to guess what the hands are doing. Like, this is not efficient. It's just not, like maybe if you've been drawing for a really long time and this is like how you've drawn for forever, right? Like, you're still outlining and you're still doing this like line erase, line erase, line erase. Like, even if I could guess the body, right? Like as a cartoon sort of drawing, sure, I could guess it, but it's a lot faster for me to draw an armature and then build on top of it, especially if you're drawing somebody moving, right? Like if you're I used to do a lot of figure drawing on the subway, at the mall, and sometimes I would see a person, I'd be like, oh, that pose looks great, but I only have time to kind of draw one of these, right? Like, okay, so this took me 5 seconds to draw, and I've captured the pose. I've captured the gesture. Okay, they're running. They're taking a big leap and saving their ice cream that's going to fall on the ground, right? So I can capture their pose in 5 seconds. Whereas if I tried to draw it like this, I would probably make it to the shoulders, not even. And I'd be like, oh, well, there goes that, right? So So that's kind of why I always say, like, draw from the inside out. Now, this is mostly for when you're drawing figures and stuff, right? Or when you're drawing trees or anything that moves, right? Dogs, cats, anything that moves. Okay. So that's kind of the base or the idea of the GSL method, is to capture the movement first and then find the shapes. Okay, so what I did here was I was trying to find the shapes. So here, a lot of people that I work with, a lot of my students will tend to draw their heads too big. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if you're stylizing the character, right? Like with anime heads tend to be really big. But I can quickly adjust my head size and adjust these lines like in 3 seconds. But if I wanted to adjust it at this stage of the drawing, I would have to reconnect everything and figure it out. It's just a lot more tedious, okay? So if you want to be very efficient, draw from the inside out, okay? It seems counterintuitive, but it's not. Okay, so let's quickly shade some stuff. So move on to the next page here. Clover, are we the same height? Yeah, cool. Okay. You need to draw your stick skeletons more. Yes, stick skeletons are always good. By the way, it's very awkward. I'm drawing very awkwardly right now because, like, I'm kind of looking at my page on an angle, which I tell my students not to do. If I was actually looking at my page, you know, at a 90 degree, my page would be tilted like this. Okay, so when you draw, you wanna be looking at your page. So, like, let's say this is you and you're sitting down like this, right? And you're drawing, right? You want your page to be 90 degrees. Okay, so you want your body to be 90 degrees. So I'm actually drawing like this, right? So you can see that your cone of vision actually gets distorted, right? See how if I'm drawing like this part of the page is further away from me than this part of the page. So everything I'm drawing gets a little bit distorted, okay? So you don't actually want to draw like how I'm drawing. It's just that if I drew like this, I would have to have a different camera setup, which is not going to work. So my camera's kind of top down. And I'm telling you this because there's a lot of things you can correct that doesn't actually have to do with your drawing. It has to do with your posture. So, you know, you want to have good posture. You don't want to be too close to your page. You probably want to be like a forearm's length at least from your page, okay? Okay, I got a little sidetracked there, but... Yeah, there's like a fruit fly in my my studio right now. I think it's attracted to the apple that I was just eating. So if it lands on my page, that's okay. They used to really bug me, but I'm now like, you know what? Fruit flies only live for like a day, so just let them enjoy their one day on Earth, even though they drive me mad. Okay. Okay, so you can see what I'm trying to do right now is draw a sphere. So if you've never drawn a sphere with me or as an exercise, this is kind of like your scales, right? what you want to do is you want to try to create an illusion of something being 3D. So a sphere is good because you have to practice really subtle shading and like a gentle gradient. Okay, so you want to try to practice a sphere with one light source like this. Okay, so it gets darker and darker and darker. Okay. Try not to smudge when you shade. Just do your best to control your pencil pressure. I told you guys I was going to go back to basics, right? Okay. So you've been warned. Okay, so I did that with a H pencil. So the next thing I'm going to do is draw in the cast shadow. So what I've done here is I've drawn in the form shadow. Okay, we're going to learn some terminology here. So a form shadow is the shadow that's caused by the form. So if the form is closer to the light source, then it's lighter. If the form is further away from the light source or the light is not getting to certain areas of the form, then it's in shadow, right? Pretty simple. This is what a form shadow is. There's 3 different types of shadows, maybe even 4, depending on how technical you want to get with it. But basically, this is our form shadow, okay? Now, most of the time when we are drawing forms, most of the time when we draw forms, we actually have the form on a surface. Okay, so basically, if this was on a surface, like let's say it was on a table, right? The sphere's on a table. The part that is really dark here, right? That's where it's sitting on the table. It's not receiving any light. Okay, so when a form is touching another form, something called ambient occlusion happens when 2 forms are sort of blocking the light, right? So this is a little bit of that. Okay, so you make the bottom a little bit darker wherever it's touching the surface. Okay, and then let's draw a cast shadow. So because this is a sphere, the cast shadow will be cylindrical, right? Assuming that the sphere is on a flat surface. So let's say here's the table back here. Okay, there's a table, right? The table is flat. It's kind of coming out this way, right? So that's why the shadow is a ellipsis like this, right? So I'm going to take this piece of paper for a second. Okay, so right now the form is on a surface that's like this. Okay, if it was on a surface that's like this, it would be on the bottom and you wouldn't really see much of a shadow. You would see a little bit of the shadow on one side. Okay, like if the light's coming from here and the ball is like on a flat surface, you would see a little bit of shadow sort of behind the ball, but because the ball is sitting on a surface that's like this, okay, you'll start to see the shadow. You can see the shadow on the paper, right? So that shadow shape changes depending on how, like what the surface is doing, right? And also what the lighting's doing. So you can see that I have a cast shadow here. So I'm going to label this cast shadow. So the difference between a form shadow and a cast shadow is that cast shadows are cast onto the surface, right? They are made, they exist because this form is casting the shadow. Okay, so it's not on the form itself, it's on a separate surface. Now, if this ball was on a cylindrical surface, that form shadow would follow the form. So for example, if I had let's see how I would draw this. If I had a ball and it was like sitting on a cylindrical surface like this on a cylinder, right? And then the light's coming from here. The shadow would do this. It would wrap around that cylinder, right? So it would be very dark here. And then it would kind of follow the form of the cylinder and eventually fade out, right? And then the cylinder would also have a shadow like this. Right? So it's important to understand how shadows interact with forms, right? This is a little bit more complex, but it starts here, right? If you know how to draw these 3 types of shadows and your forms, then you can draw anything, really. Anything out of your head. At least you can figure it out. What about bounce lights and core shadows too? Yes, definitely. I haven't got there yet, but thank you for the reminder. So the third type of shadow is the core shadow, and core shadows do not exist without cast shadows. So what I mean is core shadows, you've probably seen this before, but sometimes there's like a darker shadow within your form shadow, right? It's called a core shadow. And core shadows only exist because of reflected light. Okay, so you can see that I've just made it a little bit darker. I'm just going to even things out. Okay. What pencils am I using? I'm just using just like a basic set of artist graphites. It's just by Curry's. It's a local art store. Doesn't really matter what type of graphite you use. I don't really find it to be a huge difference as long as it's well sharpened. And I tend to use like between 4B and 4H. I don't really, I don't really use my 6B or 8B. Like if I had a big area to shade, then I would use it, but I find them really soft. I find them to have a lot of texture, so sometimes I'll use it for the texture. Okay. Can we draw something translucent? Sure, I'm gonna actually draw a feather soon. But let's say that this ball was translucent. If the ball was translucent, you would be able to see what's around it, right? But it would also distort. So if there's like a reflection on the ball, let's say there's a reflection, just like a little one, right? It would kind of follow the form on this ball, right? It would kind of curve. It wouldn't be a flat reflection. It would definitely curve. Okay, so that's like the only thing you need to remember if you are drawing something that is reflective on a sphere. Okay, so I'm going to label this core shadow. So a good example of something that does not have a core shadow is if this was a planet. And like, do you notice how the moon does not have a core shadow? Right? You notice how like the moon is just a sliver and it's got hard edges, right? And that's because there's nothing around the moon to reflect anything, right? So when it's in shadow, it's just like you only see the part that is lit up. Or the earth is casting a shadow on the moon or blocking the light, right, from the moon. So that sliver that you see is actually, like the dark part is actually a cast shadow from the earth, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that planets don't really have core shadows, right, because they're floating in space. Okay. So if you can draw a sphere like this, then you can draw a lot of things. And some people will also ask me, well, how do I draw, how do I draw something white on white paper? And I'm going to tell you to make the area that's around it a little bit darker. So I'm going to do that with this and try to lose the line. Okay. So you notice that I'm not shading the entire thing. I'm just kind of shading a little bit around it. What I'm actually adding here is artificial contrast, right? I don't know if it's actually called that. That's just what I call it because it is contrast, but I put it there, right? It's not necessarily in the reference or what I'm seeing, but what it does is it helps that ball be just a little bit more 3D. Okay, so artificial contrast, you'll see like when, especially like portrait artists, for example, Rembrandt used a lot of artificial contrast. He put a lot of dark areas where he wanted the lighter areas to be emphasized, right? He put a lot more contrast in those areas. Okay. In terms of a cylinder, right? Cylinders, I'm really only going to shade a circle and a cylinder today because those are the hardest ones to do. Prisms are much easier because they have hard edges, right? So draw a cylinder with me. Make sure that the bottom is more curved than the top. If you are looking down at it, please. Okay. So we're going to do the same kind of thing. Back to our basics. We're just going to start to shade the cylinder. And you'll notice that I'm kind of shading it up and down like this. Very controlled motion. I think the fruit fly is attracted to my my hand cream. It's like my hand cream is like apple blossom, so it's just kind of flying around my hand. Okay. What we're really focusing on today is values and form. The trick to drawing things in 3D. Does this apply to digital art? Absolutely. Oh, hey, Arunya! Yay! Arunya teaches Drawing Foundations 1, and I'm teaching Drawing Foundations 2 this year, so we are tag teaming the drawing basics. So if you're in Arunya's class, you will also learn how to draw things that look very simple but are very creative, and also she's really, really good at values and color. In traditional mediums. So a lot of fun. Her projects are a lot of fun too. All right, let's see here. Trying to find my 2B pencil. So you can see I've just kind of added a little bit of shading. I find that using H pencils give me much nicer shading, like smoother. Right? Like this is a 4H, okay? So if I'm using a 4H, you can kind of see that it's like very smooth, right? But if I use something like a 6B, can you see all that texture? Right? You see that it's like very coarse. So if you want shading that's like fine, you know, like fine shading, you want to use your H pencils. if you want like coarse shading, you want to use your B pencils. Okay, so that's kind of like the difference. Yes, B pencils are softer. They're darker, right? But they also leave a very coarse texture. Does the planet thing apply to even the planet is an asteroid belt or surrounded by other satellites in general? As long as there's nothing reflecting things on it, then yes. Otherwise, no. If it's just kind of suspended in space, then it would not have a cast shadow or a core shadow. Okay. So with cylinders, I just kind of like to shade them up and down, and you'll see that I like to draw the form shadow first and then the core shadow, because a lot of people will draw the core shadow first and then the form shadow, and that's fine. But I find that when I draw the form shadow first and then put the core shadow in, it's like already grouped together, right? You want to group your cast shadow and your core shadow. So your cast shadow is darker than your core shadow is darker than your form shadow, but it's not going to be darker than like the bottom of the cast shadow, right? And a lot of people will make the reflected light kind of too light. So even though it looks really light because it's bounce light, I'll label that too. A lot of people will make the bounce light too light. It's so light that it almost groups with the lighter areas. So you want to make sure that the lights are grouped and the darks are grouped. Okay, so it's like very distinguishable between light and dark, and it doesn't get too complex. How do you texture leather? Leather? It depends. I usually don't texture leather, like unless I'm drawing a detail of leather. Like if I'm just drawing regular leather, I don't think I would add texture to it. Maybe like around the edge. Okay, so the top of the cylinder, I generally like to shade in the opposite. So like if it's darker on this side, I like to go darker on the opposite side. I think it makes it look kind of neat, and it just offers the most contrast. That's just kind of like a style that I like, right? You can see that it's starting to get even more contrast. And let's see, the shadow of this cylinder would probably be, if this is the core shadow, there would be a surface here, right? So let's say there's something here that's reflecting the light. So the light's coming from this part and it's going, bouncing here and then bouncing back onto the surface. So the way cast shadows work is that they get lighter and lighter as they move away from the form. So they get a little bit fuzzier and they start to get a little bit blurry, right? So you can start to blur it a bit, but when it's like right below the form, you want to make sure that it's really dark, like down here. And it kind of starts off with hard edges. Okay, so it starts to fade. There's like, as it moves away from the form, cast shadows, fade as they move away from the object. Okay, so it starts, it's like super sharp and crispy here, and then it starts to get blurry. Let's see. Does drawing on computer paper matter from a real sketchbook? As long as you're drawing, it doesn't matter what you're drawing on. Obviously, like, nicer paper is better, but you should never let nicer paper, like, you should never let the paper or the brush stop you from drawing. Like, if you feel like painting and all you have is a crappy brush, use the crappy brush. Who cares? As long as you're painting and having fun. You might be a little bit frustrated, but, you know, don't wait for the perfect sketchbook or the perfect brush or the perfect pencil. Just draw. Like, right? Yeah, I still use dollar store brushes because, you know what? I'm not afraid to mess them up. I'm like super aggressive with my dollar store brushes. And I've like saved all of my nice brushes and end up not using them because I'm, you know, I paid so much for them that I want to save them. So like, no, just use whatever you have. If I lost my arms, I would paint with my feet. Oh, yes. That would be a fun challenge to paint with your feet for sure. Okay. So we've learned about perspective POV. We've learned a little bit about the different types of shadows, right? Now let's do some of the requests. So the first request is a feather. So I'm gonna draw a feather here, and we can talk a little bit about texture, but feathers have gestures, right? Feathers can move in the wind. Remember that opening scene in Forrest Gump, guys, with just the feather kind of like blowing in the wind? Remember that feather? I hear the theme song in my head. Okay, so let's draw a feather together. It could be any kind of feather, so it could be any gesture. So let's say there's my gesture. Okay, I kind of want the feather to be blowing down like this. Feathers usually have some wispy stuff down at the bottom, so like softer, kind of wispier feathers down here, right? Like soft and wispy. And then they get a little bit harder at the top. So I'm just going to sketch out like a rough form, or sorry, a rough shape, okay? Rough shape of the feather. So once you have the shape in, so I've got my G and my S, right? The S extends a little bit to negative shape. So if my GSL, whoops. Here's my gesture, right? It's like this. And then my shape added on top, right? Your shape can be a geometric. It can also be more organic. And then with the shape, you also have positive versus negative shape. Okay, so positive shapes are obviously, you know, what I have here. And then my negative shapes, let's say I wanted to put a little bit of negative shape into the feathers. Right? So what I'm doing is I'm actually carving the negative shapes out of the positive shapes just to kind of keep it simple and keep it grouped. So now I'm going to follow the gesture and kind of draw the middle of the feather. It's very suiting because, you know, we're wing canvas, so the feather is a good, definitely a good symbol. I haven't actually drawn one in a long time, so the shading's gonna be pretty fun though. Oh, Kevin, that's so nice of you to gift a membership. Thank you. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to shade this feather, okay? So generally speaking, when you shade stuff, like you want to move your page so that it helps when you shade. It helps you shade. So like it's really awkward for me to shade like this. Like I'm like literally buckling my elbows, right? It's hard for me to shade like this, but if I shade this way, see how easy it is for me to shade, right? So figure out which direction you are better at when it comes to shading and go in that direction. Okay. I normally don't turn the page during my streams, but with this one, I feel like I have to because otherwise I won't be able to get this nice smooth texture with the feather. So drawing a feather is kind of like drawing hair. Like you don't want to draw every single detail, but you want to make sure that you know, the hairs are going in the direction of the form, right? And so I'm going to turn my feather, let's see. If I want it to kind of line up, I would turn it this way now. I'm just going to cover up my page with scrap piece of paper. And then I'm going to shade in the opposite direction. Maybe connect a few. Right, so your eye kind of makes that connection. Then you can even use your eraser to kind of create that edge. Okay, so there's one side of my feather. The bottom might be a little bit more challenging because like it's a little bit more swirly, but still you just kind of want to follow your movement with your shading. Right? And you don't have to go all the way. You just kind of have to do the top and the bottom and sort of visually connect it. I don't know how well this is working for you guys digitally though, you digital people. Let me know if you're trying to do this digitally, if you're having any luck. With digital, you get to do all, you know, other things like pretty gradients and things like that. With pencil, I'm kind of, you know, kind of stuck finishing it all manually here. Yeah, so there's a couple members that I see in the chat. Quinn, one of our lovely patrons, she's an OG art nerd. Yeah, so you know, if you join the Patreon, you can actually get to chat with the creators behind the scenes and get critique on your artwork. So even if you are a $2 member, which is the lowest tier, you can still get feedback, not just from the instructors, but from our awesome community. And the higher tiers, you get pretty cool perks like live critiques. You get to participate in our live sessions where we do draw-overs on your works in progress. So sometimes we all feel a little bit lost, and getting good feedback is so critical. All right. So for the fuzzy parts, I might just kind of use the side of my pencil, and I'm gonna do this. I don't know if Broken Wings Eel, if you're still here, but they're a member as well. And members get class recordings and a good discount on our classes as well, our live classes. Okay. So there we go. There's a feather for you guys. Shaded and everything. So you can see, like, here I'm shading like across my initial texture, but because I'm using a 2H pencil, it doesn't leave any lines, right? It's like super, super fine shading. So if you're having trouble shading and you find that you're smudging, like, maybe just use a pencil that's not as dark, right? Stick with your H pencils. Okay. What do the pencil types mean? So pencil types are basically, so I'm using a 2H right now. And so how pencil types work is you have your HB, right? Your HB is like your regular yellow school pencil that you've used forever, and you've probably never looked at what it was labeled, but it's HB. So as you move towards your H, so this is where's my HB pencil? Ha ha ha. I lost it, but here's my H pencil. I just need to find any pencil to be my HB, like any kind of any school pencil. This is my B. You can see as you get darker, this is a 5B. Okay. These pencils, B pencils are darker and softer, and H pencils are harder. Just remember H for hard, right? Where's my 4H here? I actually don't know where my 4H is. This one is a 4H, even though it doesn't say it, but 4H pencils, you can see they're much lighter, right? So if I want to get really dark, I have to press really hard. So if you find you're pressing really hard, you're etching into the page, you probably want to move to a darker pencil, a softer pencil, right? So the higher the number, the softer the higher the number next to a B, it means the softer they are, and then the higher the number next to H means that they're very, very light. I've seen like 8H pencils, and they're just super, super, super light, and I don't really like them. Like my range is probably between 5B and 4H, right? So it'd be 5B, 4B, 3B, 2B, B, HB, H. Yeah, hopefully that explains it. All right. So let me know how your feather turned out if you were drawing along with me. But we are going to talk a little bit about the giveaway. Just as a reminder, quick reminder, we're giving away a free class pass today. It's valued at $100. So if you haven't entered yet, just type Art Nerd in the chat. Type Art Nerd in the chat, one word for your chance to win. We'll be picking a winner at the end of the stream, so don't go anywhere. Also, only one entry is counted per individual, so please don't spam the chat. Yeah, so that's all you need to do. Just type in Art Nerd and we will give it, a class pass. So with these class passes, you can take 3 live Art Foundations classes. Art Foundations classes are the classes where, you know, you build your art foundations like what we're doing tonight. So I teach Drawing Foundations 2. It's on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can either come live or you can take our recorded learning option where you can watch the recording and do the classwork within a week, and you can get my feedback on your artwork, request drawovers, and pick my brain. Ask me anything. And the $100, you can also get 2 art mentorship classes. So our live classes are limited to 12 live participants, and our art mentorship classes are 6 live participants. So art mentorship is good for portfolio building. It's really good if you like to do your own thing and you just want feedback on specific areas of your work. And if you don't really care for feedback and you just kind of want to draw and have a course that you can watch at any time, you can check out our video art courses. You can just go to wingcanvas.com and check out the courses that we have so you can choose what you would like to do if you win. All right, so stick around. This is the 3rd stream. There's one more stream where you can win if you don't win tonight. All right. So let's get back to drawing. All right. So we did the feather. Some people have, one person requested a wheelchair. I was like, dang, that's good. A wheelchair, the mechanics of it is tough. It's a tough one. So I thought it would be fun to actually draw one and show you how I would break it down. How I would break down something super complex into those so-called forms that I was telling you guys about. Right? Okay. Oh, I don't know if I'll have time to draw a person sitting in it because I want to draw a dog and I also want to draw some rocks. Those are some requests that we had. So let's draw this wheelchair. Let me know in the chat, guys, how would you draw this wheelchair? What would you draw first? What, like, how would you draw? How would you draw this? Broken Wings Eel. I know we drew a castle together on Thursday, so you probably know this. But what would you draw first? What would you guys draw first? You draw the seat, a box, the seat part as a square. These are all really good. If you win, do you have to take the classes right away, or can you wait on them? You can wait on them. Take them when you're ready. You draw the actual seat. Okay. The gesture. I don't know if a wheelchair has gestures. But yeah, so what I would do first is, like, you've got this wheel here, right? And you've got the seat of the chair. So you want to draw whatever is the easiest thing for you to place right away. So if you start with the wheel, because the wheel is the biggest, that's fine. The wheel is also not round. It's more oval, right? It's because it's a little bit on an angle. Right? So if you want to, you can kind of sketch out the wheel. I would probably draw the wheel first, only because it gives me a rough sort of a rough shape to start with. And then I would start to draw the chair. And yes, I would draw it as a cube. But you can see that the back of the chair, kind of like this, right? What did I tell you? These are just shapes. There's a diamond shape, which is like bottom of that box there, right? Here's the top of the box, but you don't really see that. You kind of see the halfway point here. So if I drew halfway where the handles go, right, I draw another diamond shape. So generally speaking, this diamond shape should be less hot, like should have less height. It should be more squished than this one, right? So this one should be wider, this one should be less wide, right? Because the our line of vision is up here. Usually we're looking down at wheelchairs because they're chairs, right? And so now I can see that halfway is kind of where the side of the seat is. And then above that would be where the arms of the wheelchair are, right? So now I can make any adjustments that I need. And so now I know that, like, okay, this part aligns with this part, right, of the wheelchair. You can see a general structure starting to happen here. Right. I'm going to move this up. And so if I bring everything down, if I bring these down, how far do they go? There's like a wheel that's down here. Like, I'm just guesstimating everything. I'm just sketching everything out. But just kind of making sure that they all align. And I'm probably not going to draw everything that I see because it's too complicated. Like, even if I drew something simple, I think most people would know what I'm drawing. So, you know, that's the thing about using reference, is that, like, sometimes we'll get stuck on, like, oh, it has to look exactly like the reference, and sometimes the reference has something that's not really clear, right? But we end up drawing it and putting it in because we're referencing it. So really all I'm referencing are the wheels. Right, and then how everything fits. So there's this part here, which is where the feet go. Right, this is also a kind of like a rectangular diamond shape. I was using a B pencil. I was like, why are my lines so coarse? And so I can kind of see that I made my wheelchair a little bit too wide because I'm looking at this wheel here and realizing that it should be touching this. So I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. So you can see, like, if I made this adjustment after I had invested a lot of time in this drawing, I would be kicking myself, right? But here I'm really just sketching out basic structure. So it's very, very easy to change if I wanted to change anything. And you don't have to follow the reference exactly, you know, you just have to follow it enough so that you can capture the essence of whatever it is you're drawing. You'll notice if you watch a lot of cartoons or anime that a lot of good illustrations are very simple, like more simple than the actual the real thing. How you're doing it is exactly what I do. Nice. Nice. That's great. Right. Especially when you're drawing something that's kind of complicated like this, but is fairly geometric and symmetrical. This is the way to go, right? So now I'm drawing all, like getting rid of the lines that I feel would be a little confusing and just kind of bringing it down. There's the side of the wheelchair. Hey there, Lumi. Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. Thanks for being here. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, definitely do that. Because we have our October challenge, which we've been... Actually, Evie, if you're here, Evie and Kevin have been working really hard on it. It's going to be really, really fun. I've had a sneak peek, but it'll keep you busy for October. Okay, so here I have my wheelchair. You'll notice I didn't draw any of the structures underneath because I don't think it's really that relevant to the wheelchair. If an engineer might be like, oh no, you're missing the axle and all those other things, and as an illustrator I'm like, well, if you can tell what it is, then it's all good. Okay, I'll draw the axle. You'll see that the wheels, like there are let me see, it's kind of too hard to draw an odd amount of the what are these things called? It's escaping me. The inside of the wheel, the spokes on the wheel? What is it called? Spokes, yeah. I don't use that word at all, so I'm surprised I remember. But yeah, anyway, I didn't draw the amount that's in the reference because I prefer drawing an even amount. It's just easier. Ultimately, nobody really cares, right? So I'm simplifying to make my own life easier. Whoops, that's the axle. See? See? I just confused myself. I shouldn't have put it in. Okay. So the wheel part, wheels are so hard to draw. We drew a car in our first drawing foundations class because I realized I never did a class on how to draw cars. And the wheel was really hard. It was always when you're drawing like wheels in perspective, you want to put them inside a box. Like I'm talking about tires, right? That have a little bit of a width. These wheels, I don't think we need to put in a box just because they're kind of like a bicycle wheel, right? They're not very thick. So I think it's okay to just freehand it. And if you're smudging the paper like me, then just put another paper on top of it. And you'll be smudge safe. Okay, so basically I just wanted to show you guys how to draw the structure, like how I would approach drawing something like this. I don't really think I need to finish it per se. But, you know, once you have like the overall structure, this is just to kind of show you why everything starts with shapes and forms. Right? Do you notice that the metal parts of the wheelchair are just a cylinder, right? One long cylinder. And if you want to shade something that's like more metallic, you just have to add contrast to it, right? So I'll shade a little bit of it. You can kind of see like there's a very shiny part. So I'm using a 5B pencil here. I'm just kind of adding some shading to it. So everything else that comes afterwards is pretty easy, right? As long as you have like the general structure, it's a lot easier. So if I wanted to add some texture, sorry, that's my bracelet. Okay. Okay, so I don't actually think I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna move on to doggies. My dogs. So fun fact, when Wing Canvas first opened, we were a local studio based in Markham, Ontario. And I would bring my dogs to work. And a lot of people said that that was the best part of their day. A lot of our co-op students loved dogs. Actually, Jessie shared a page on her old sketchbook when she was a co-op at Wing Canvas, and this is years ago. And she would draw these little comics about her day, and a lot of them were like, "Why aren't the dogs here? Where are the dogs?" So, one of our dogs actually passed away recently. We had two dogs, two studio dogs, Sadie and Pongo. Pongo is still with us, and Sadie is in doggy heaven. She's lived to be 15. And let me actually show you. I made a little sculpture of both of them. These are my doggies. Sadie, as you can see, in Pongo. This was actually done when we did sculpture for summer camp. These are made from Sculpey, which is like an oven baked clay, which I absolutely love. And so we made these like little chibi sculptures. And yeah, you can see these are just basic forms, right? It's made with tin foil with Sculpey on top. There's an armature inside made of wire, and then after I baked them, I painted them with acrylic. Anywho. Thanks. It's oven baked clay. It's actually called Sculpey. And Sculpey is the best. It's so much fun. I've used it just for fun, and I've used it to actually sculpt prototypes before there was 3D printing. I sculpted like a sword handle because I designed a sword and had trouble visualizing what it looked like in different directions. These days you could just make it in Blender, but this was like a decade ago, so I had to draw it by hand, sculpt it by hand, and then draw different angles of the sword for the sword maker. And so I've used Sculpey for almost everything, for jewelry, for everything. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to post some pictures. Just let me know what pictures. Sword pictures? I've designed a few swords actually, but yeah, let me know what you're referring to. Okay, so these are my babies, my dogs, Sadie and Pongo. So I get a lot of question about how to draw fur, and let me just kind of show you how I would draw a dog. So here, you know, you can kind of start by drawing heads if heads help you place things, right? If you are more comfortable sort of starting with the head, then draw the head. Pongo's face is kind of square, right? Her face is like more square. So even though I based it off of this circle, I'm going to edit it later. So Sadie's head is more triangular. It's got like a point here, and then it's like I've always said her head is shaped like a house, and then she's got her snout here, which is very long, right? So her snout is just like a cylinder, right? Pongo's snout is so short that you barely see it. Okay. And then draw in the ears. I'm mostly trying to draw the characters of these dogs by using basic shapes. So you can see like Pongo's nose and mouth make up this like rectangular shape. Whereas Sadie's is more of like the classic dog nose shape. It's like round at the bottom, flatter at the top, right? And her ears are a little bit more droopy. So you can see these are still pretty geometric, right? Okay, and then for Sadie, like she's got her body's kind of doing this, right? Not too much movement, really, because she's standing still. But what I do want to capture is like, you know, how many heads can I fit to her leg? Like, what are her legs doing? And then how are they balanced, right? There's like another leg that kind of comes down here. And you can see like her paws make a shape as well. So sometimes it's easy to draw that shape in. Right, so her body is pretty much two circles. If you're drawing any four-legged creature, it's easy to sort of draw in the two cylinders. She's got a lot of fur that's kind of up here. So those of you who like drawing characters that are based off of animals, we just released some really great Q&A videos that Jessie made on animal anatomy, particularly how to draw animal anatomy on humans. I know a lot of our subscribers and fans and students love designing original characters that are based off of animals. So definitely check those out. I learned a lot just about plantigrades and digitigrades and like all that stuff. Really interesting. Okay, so you can see that I've based it off of shapes. I made her head a little bit bigger in my sketch, and I made her body a little bit thicker. She got really thin at the end, Sadie. But I like drawing her with a little bit of meat. Okay, so once you kind of have in the sketch of the dog, then if you want to draw the fur, so okay, I've been using a 4B to sketch, which I never do. I'm using it only so that you guys can see it a little bit darker, but you can see it's hard to erase, right? If you erase a lot, don't start with your B pencils. Start with your H pencils. They're very easy to erase. If you start with your B pencils, they tend to look a little bit too dark, and so they're just a little harder to adjust. Okay, so now I'm drawing Pongo's body, just kind of placing it in. Pongo's got a tail that looks like a squirrel. It's really cute. She's the cute one. Sadie was the smart one. And Pongo is really cute because she's got like white paws. Super cute. Jessie actually turned Pongo and Sadie. Did she do Sadie too, or just Pongo? I think she turned Pongo into an Animal Crossing villager. If you haven't seen that video, it's like 3 years old maybe, but it's really cute. So my dogs have been made into many different characters, OCs. And they're really good doggy models. Okay, so to draw fur, really what you want to do is go around your outline. So you can kind of see, like, I have a rough outline of going on here, right? So if I'm drawing fur, I can just kind of like very loosely draw in some details. And it's important to note that fur grows in different directions, right? So you'll notice that some parts on dogs have longer fur, and then other parts have short fur. Some parts you see a lot of texture, like in the leg here, you see kind of like a lot of texture, like right here, right? And then in the tail, you might see some negative space here. Right, so I'm just kind of going around and putting in where I think you would likely see the most detail. You see there's not really a lot of fur happening on this side of the leg, but on the other side of the leg, there's a lot more fur going on. Right, so really, it's not about how much fur you draw. It's about how you draw it to suggest it without having to draw everything that you see. Oh no, I think the lid's broken. Ah! No. Oh, okay. Gotta sharpen these pencils. Oh, it's your first time joining a stream. Hello, Pinku Paints. Broken leads are the worst. I know, they're so So frustrating. Oh no, there it goes again. Oh. Okay, time to change my pencil. So that was not a good quality pencil, whatever this was. Marco, or either that or I dropped it too many times. Okay, let's move on to another one. Let's grab my sharpest pencil that I have that is a little bit dark. Ah, look at that. This is like the best edge to draw with. Don't draw with dull pencils, guys, because you'll get dull lines and they just don't look very good. Okay, so we're continuing on fur. So Sadie had a lot of like very scraggly fur. She had this tuft here on her back. That was like, she's part Aussie Shepherd, so she has kind of a lot of this scraggly fur. I kind of went a little bit overboard here. I'm just gonna simplify. But it's mostly to show you that, you know, when you're drawing fur, it's important to not draw too much fur everywhere, and you really want to observe like how the fur is growing. Just like the feather, there are some parts that are really downy and like soft, and then there's other parts that are like coarse fur, right? Kind of like on the back of here, it's more coarse. And then on the legs, it's usually along the back that's a little bit more coarse, where you actually see. Yeah, basically implying and suggesting is way better. That's right, Kevin. Imply, don't over try. Less is more, guys. Less is more. Less is more is like the best design principle. It's not actually one of the elements and principles of art, but it's like a design principle that I practice my art by, and that I live by to some extent. Simpler is always better. Just think about like the best cartoons. They're all really simple. Like I recently got Disney Plus, and I've been watching some of like my favorite hand-drawn animations. They've kind of made these little like compilation videos. I forget what they're called, but just like beautiful traditional animation, and like a lot of what we see now is computer generated, which is okay, but you know, there's something beautiful about hand-drawn animation that's so simple. Like an artist actually had to make a lot more of those creative decisions, like how to simplify things. It's just, you know, something that definitely is worth the time to appreciate. How we can turn something in real life that's so complicated into something so simplistic. So really what I'm trying to do is capture just capture her face. Sadie was always kind of sad looking. She had these like hound-like eyes, I suppose, that made her look very sad. Whereas my other dog, Pongo, She just kind of looks like a troublemaker. She looks like she's got a lot of attitude. Sadie was really, really scared of cars. Like, she hated cars. And one year I took her camping, which was a really bad idea because she just was shaking in the car the entire time, like just trembling and shaking, and she wouldn't even sit down or lie down. She just was not having any of it. And then when we got to the campsite, she like put herself to bed, crawled into the tent, and just collapsed and went to sleep. Poor thing. My other dog, on the other hand, the little one, she will sleep anywhere. She's got a warm lap. She doesn't care who it is. She's out. She has the best snooze in the cars. In the car on my lap. Okay, so I'm not going to do too much shading here, but you get the idea of how you can draw fur, right? Really, less is more. Try not to put don't put too much detail. You can see that there's a lot of detail in the transitions. If you have a look at the reference picture, you'll see that the transitions are where the light meets the dark. Okay, so like everything down here, she's kind of backlit, right? Everything below this line here is in shadow and everything above it is in the light, but you'll see that there's a lot of texture kind of like in the transitions, right? So this is where I would use a coarse pencil to shade because voila, it has built-in texture. I know I said I wouldn't shade it, but I feel like I have to add a little bit of shading to make this transition texture work. So I said this in a previous hair tutorial. We did a stream on drawing hair. That was a lot of what people had requested today too. Is like, how do you draw hair? I was like, I've already done it. So check out the hair stream after this if you're curious on how to draw fur or, you know, kind of get a little bit better at drawing hair and fur in general. So this is what I would do if I had to shade it really fast. I love cats too, actually. I had a cat. She was a beautiful cat. Yes, I had 2 dogs and a cat. My poor cat. Her name was Helvetica. She was a beautiful gray tabby cat with a pink nose. Okay. So there's a simple sketch of Sadie. Notice the cast shadow that's like that she's casting, right? It's like these, I might as well put them in, these like hard edged shadows. There's a door in the way, but if there was no door, it would kind of be like this. All right, now on to Pongo, whom I should have drawn first because now I'm going to smudge Sadie. Oops. Okay, so with Pongo, you can draw. So here, Sadie, I kind of did the line art first. And I'm drawing really fast, so this is just a very, very rough sketch. I would definitely spend more time if I had it. I just want to, you know, draw as much as I can for today's stream. But you can kind of see like Pongo is mostly in shadow, like her face is mostly in shadow. So sometimes what you could do is you could just kind of like shade and draw a value sketch first. And you'll notice that like if you squint at the dog, you'll see that the belly is white, but it's still darker than the orangey fur at the top that's in light, which is why I made everything darker. Right? Because sometimes like your form will always trump your coloring. So basically like white that's in shadow may be darker than like a color that is in light, right? Okay, so for Pongo, what I'm going to do is just kind of draw in the shadows first. I'm just going to do a value drawing just to show you how there's like two different ways you could draw. Or you could start this drawing. So here I'm just using a dark pencil. It's a 4B. And just kind of getting in the darks. Even her face is really dark. So I'm getting in her face. She's also like a brindle, like a black and brown dog. So I know Iggy draws like this sometimes. Like he'll just kind of do a value sketch and just build his character using shapes. And I find that really effective, especially with digital. Just kind of building it up. Right, so you can start to see a little bit of the dog take shape, even though it's just a shadowy shape. Now let's draw the cast shadow. This is what I would use my super dark pencils for, is this type of fast shading. So, you know, as long as the shadow shape is like similar, I could, you know, put in some bigger ears if I wanted to. But as long as it is pretty similar, it's fine. It doesn't have to be exact. Oh, look at this. Look at how sharp that is. Oh, love it. Things that make me happy. Perfectly sharpened pencils. Okay, so you can see now I'm putting the line art on top of my shading. And I find this to be easier actually sometimes, like especially if I'm drawing something that is generally darker, right? Sometimes it's easier to draw the line art first, and sometimes it's easier to shade it first. If I'm drawing if I'm drawing like a dog that's mostly in shadow, I find drawing the shadowy shapes a lot more helpful. Because it gives, it very quickly can show me the big picture. And like a lot of the times I'll see people draw perfect line art and then they don't want to shade it. Because the line art's so nice that they're like, okay, well, if I put the whole dog's face into shadow, then I'm going to lose the line art. Right? Have you ever done that? Let me know if you've done that. It's me so many times over. So to prevent that from happening, it's almost easier to kind of start with your shading and then do your line art. Right, so now I'm just kind of like drawing in the nose. She kind of looks like a koala. Totally koala face here. I just noticed this. So drawing the line art after you draw the shadow will help keep everything, like all your values, in check. Which I find really helpful, right? Because it's like especially if you're shading a face, I find drawing in the shading before drawing in those details super helpful. Because like a lot of the times we'll draw eyes and we'll draw them we'll draw the whites of the eyes as white, whereas the whites of the eyes are usually in shadow because our eyes are in eye sockets, right? And eye sockets are in shadow most of the time. So that's why some people, when they draw eyes and they like put too much detail in the line art and like all the details before actually figuring out what the forms are and what the values are, doesn't always work out well. I mean, I'm not here to tell you exactly how to draw. There's different ways of drawing and different ways of making art. I'm just here to show you what works for me and tell you how I draw very quickly. Like just all the years I spent figuring it out. You can steal my technique. Go for it. Steal it before the machines do. You kind of stopped using pencils? Hey, Frenzy Feline, welcome in. You're annoyed with the smudging? Don't smudge. Oh, don't smudge. I know like those pencil sets come with like blending stumps and all that, and they're so delicious looking and you want to use them and you want to smudge everything, but smudging is bad. It doesn't you know, there's a lot of professional artists who smudge, and that's fine if you know what you're doing, but if you can't shade without smudging, then don't smudge. If you can shade without smudging, then you can smudge, because like you know how to, you know, do it with your pencil and pencil pressure. Don't rely on smudging, because then you'll never actually learn shading. My gosh, I love koala face Pongo. So cute. All right, guys, so that is fur. I I kind of made the heads on the dogs a little bit bigger, especially Sadie, just because it's a little cuter that way. But yeah, that's kind of how I draw fur. And how I draw animals in general. Just kind of start off with very loose shapes, and then you can kind of add the texture as you go. All right, so if you guys like this type of stream, like I had planned to draw some rocks too, but I find that I'm rushing. So if you guys want another follow-up stream, like a how to draw anything request stream, let me know and we can schedule another one and I can draw some more stuff based on what you guys want to do. All right, so it is almost time to announce the giveaway winner. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's almost 11. Let's see, guys. Oh, this is exciting. If you haven't entered the giveaway yet, go ahead and type Art Nerd in the live chat. 4 lucky winners will be chosen. This is stream 3. So we are going to announce the winner. Giveaway time. Kevin is coordinating this. Thank you so much, Kevin, our very diligent and helpful mod who've been collecting all of your entries. Kevin will be announcing the winner momentarily. We got 52 entrants. Okay, so you have a 1 in 52 chance of winning classes, a $100 value class pass. And just a final reminder, there is one more giveaway stream next Saturday. So that's Jessie's stream where she's drawing lo-fi rooms, environments. Yeah, so which means you have one more chance to win if you don't win today. So join Jessie's stream Saturday at 3 p.m. She will be teaching us how to draw a lo-fi background. And you can go to our channel's live tab now and hit the notify me button to set a reminder. And if you want to learn more drawing techniques with me, you can use a promo code. We will be giving out the promo code as soon as we announce the winner. So stick around. You will have a chance to get an awesome deal on our classes as well. Okay, Kevin, do you want to announce the winner first or do the promo code? You let me know. Oh, Nightbot just announced the winner. Okay, Drew Jacob, you won the giveaway. Drew Jacob, let us know if you are in the chat. Congratulations. Yeah, you won it. You won a class pass. So go ahead and go to wingcanvas.com and you can take a look at the classes that we have. So let me go there real quick. There we go. If you go to wingcanvas.com, here's our homepage. You can click around, go to classes, go to virtual art classes. And you can see these are all the different classes that you can take. I teach drawing foundations. Cartooning and anime is a really fun class if you like designing characters. And if you love anime, that's with Iggy. Digital art foundation. So whether you learn drawing foundations or digital art foundations, it's still foundations. You're still learning the foundations of drawing. Doesn't matter the medium that you start with, but whether you want traditional or digital, either of those classes would be great. And we also have art intensives and mentorship classes. So we just introduced our intensives. We taught them live during the summer, and now you can take them asynchronously and get live critique on your artwork. So congratulations. All right. So for those of you guys who stuck around for the promo code, It's promo code time. Here we go. So you can get 20% off any live class, and it's valid for the next 24 hours only because you guys are so awesome and you stuck around the entire time. Just use code STREAM20 to grab 20% off any live class. So just a quick note, our live classes are structured so that you can drop into them. So if you drop in, you kind of pay full price. If you take an entire term, our terms are usually like 7 classes to 13 classes, depending on the term. If you take the whole term, you get 15% off, and you can combine that with this 20% off and get like even more savings. So we encourage full term because you really learn by putting in the time consistently, right? So treat yourself to a live class. Go to wingcampus.com/register. All right. Woo. Congrats, guys. You guys have one more chance to win. And definitely don't miss Jessie's stream. And if there's something else that you want to see me draw, maybe next time I will do a painting stream, like ask me how to paint anything. Or we can draw in colored pencils, because that's always fun, right? So if you're drawing along with me, please share your artwork on the Discord, on social media, tag us at Winged Canvas. We love to see your artwork and cheer you on. And if you're a member, share it in our members critique Discord channel if you'd like feedback from our instructors. And if you don't know, you can support what we do. You can support our mission of making free arts education by joining our Patreon. We've got some awesome perks for our Patreon members, like members only chat and critique. Like for $2 a month, you can chat with the Wing Canvas crew and get critique on your artwork, which is an amazing deal. We want to try to make art education as accessible and nearly free, I mean this is free, as we possibly can. So join our mission, help support the channel. You can get access to videos before we release them, and monthly live class recordings, as well as digital art files. Oh, and the other thing, live critique. Live critique, where are we here? Sorry, here we go. Live critique, my critiques, oh, I can't find the graphic, sorry guys, but my live critique are usually on, oh, here we go, on Fridays at 1 p.m. So if you are a VIP member on our Patreon, you can attend our live critiques. They're about an hour, and each creator will do them per week. So I think Jessie goes first, and then Iggy, Josh, and myself. So I'm always like the last Friday of the month. And we all specialize in different things. So if you join Jessie's stream, she's amazing at digital illustration, comics, and creature design. Iggy is your anime artist who's also really skilled at digital painting. Josh does our animation streams, and his character designs are so awesome as well. And I teach figure drawing, portraiture, painting, mixed media, and your foundations. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for supporting our mission to make art education easily accessible to everyone. And I will see you guys next time. Jessie's stream is this Saturday. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.